Hey everyone, how's it going? We're back out here at the storage, getting some work done on the engine of the steel bumper Spitfire. Coincidentally, I have looked up the numbers and stuff. Technically, by its build number, it is a 1978. It is titled as a 79 though, which commonly did happen back in the old days. If it didn't sell one year and it sold the next year, they titled it as that year model. So, but technically, the steel bumper Spitfire is a 1978. I'm taking loose all the nuts and stuff that hold the intake and the exhaust manifold on. The only problem with getting the intake and the exhaust manifold off is up in there. There's a nut on this side and the other in another really tight area, and you can't hardly get to it. So I've gotten them loosened up, finally, and I'm in here with my fingers going up and from the bottom and trying to shove another finger up through there and trying to use two fingers to back them off. So it's going to be a tedious, time-consuming process, but it's got to be done. And if the video looks a little grainy and the sound is different, then that's because I'm shooting this video on my cell phone instead of my normal camera. So, but I'm gonna get to it, and I get down where I get the oil pan off. I will fire the camera back up, and we'll go from there. All right, as you can see, this is the exhaust and intake gasket, and you can see in the center here where the exhaust part in the center blew out, and you can see where all along the center here where there's been an exhaust leak. So we're going to take care of that. It's a good thing I'm tearing everything down the way I am. That way I can take care of stuff like this when I see it. So a new gasket's going to be going back on, of course, and should be no exhaust leak once we get it all back together. And just got to clean off the surfaces of the side of the head so that we get a nice good seal. All right, I got the old pan off, I got the rod caps off, and each part of the crankshaft journals here for where the rods connect to, each one is nice and smooth. I don't feel any ridges at all. It's just smooth like glass. So the crank is not tore up. The bearings look almost brand new. They're standard bearings. I mean, they have some wear patterns in them from running, but the main one I was concerned with is he said that, when I got it, the previous owner said the number three rod bearing was gone. This is number 3, and aside from the lines that you see in there are wear, they're not ridges. This bearing is smooth as glass. That's going to lead me to inspect the thrust washers on the engine. As you can see, I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt, which I know it's sacrilege, but I didn't think about it when I came out here to work on the car. I just threw a shirt on and came out. But I got some work on the engine done, and as I showed before, the thrust washers were less than perfect, shall we say. I talked to some people on the Triumph Spitfire page on Facebook, which is a really good source of information from people who are really experienced with these cars. And one person, I forget his name, but he said that it looked like acid etching had occurred on the thrust washers. So and he says that that this is due to these cars, especially in the United States, in the northern regions where, I happen to live, and, they put their cars up for the winter. And a lot of times, they'll be running on the same oil they're running on in the summer, and then they'll go park the car, in their storage or whatever for the winter with that same old oil in it. And I guess the the oil, as you use it, develops, certain acids and stuff in it, and it eats away at the thrust washers. That's a little bit of information that I didn't personally know before. So, he recommends it's a good idea that when you go put your car up for the winter, go ahead, change the oil, put brand new fresh oil in it, then crank it up and let it run for a few to circulate the new oil with the remaining old oil that's still left in the engine, and then put it up. And then you get that fresh oil and stuff in there, and you won't have the acid etching occur on your thrust washers. So, that was a bit of information I never knew before. And that's why I'm, a member of, certain, special car groups like that, because you can get, through people's experience and stuff, you learn all kinds of new stuff. I got the cats back on. They're not torqued to spec or nothing. I just put them on and snugged them, just to get all the piston connecting rods and all that back on. And before I put this back together, I'm going to replace all the rod cap bearings. Seems how I have the bottom end of the engine open. And I did put in, I took the metal burrs and stuff off of the thrust washers and put them back in just to check the play. Unfortunately, I cannot find my feeler gauges, but there is very, very, very little movement. The spec is between 4/1000ths of an inch and 8/1000ths of an inch. So I will have to find my feeler gauges and double check that, but I'm putting brand new thrust washers in anyway because of the acid etching that occurred on these. And apparently, I've checked the bottom end thoroughly. Crank's good. All the crank journals are nice and smooth. No ridges, no mars, no imperfections. Everything is smooth like glass. And everything appears relatively perfect. The faces where the thrust washers make contact on the two contact surfaces on the crank, those surfaces are perfectly smooth and stuff. No marring, no imperfections, nothing. So that's good. As far as I know, the surface of the block where the washer sits, all that appears to be good. When I push the washers in, there's no hang-ups, no nothing. So nothing to lead me to believe that there's any marring or anything up in there. And besides that, the area of the thrust washer that makes contact with the block, and all the backside of the thrust washers were perfect. So, I do not believe there's any imperfections in the block itself. So I'm very lucky there. So, but the thrust washers do need to be replaced due to the marring and stuff that occurred, which was not caused by any type of mechanical failure. I'm inclined to believe the gentleman on the Facebook Trying Spitfire page that told me about the acid etching that occurs from old oil sitting on them for 3-4 months at a time, and all, causing that damage, because there's no damage to the crank, no damage to the block, no damage to anything in here. So this problem was not caused by any type of mechanical failure. It's just due to, I'm going to chalk it up to poor maintenance. So, but all the mechanicals look good and stuff. So, but I'm replacing the thrust washers, putting brand new ones in there, and then I'll check the clearances again. And by then I'll have my feeler gauges. I'm replacing all the rod bearings. Seems how I have the bottom of the crankcase opened anyway. The main bearings and all look really good, so I'm not going to do anything there. I'll just leave those in and all, because the bearings still look really good. They look almost brand new. I'm just replacing the rod bearings as a precaution. Seems how I have it opened up anyway. And I heard that these engines are, the 1500 engine was notorious for chewing up the number 2 and number 3 rod bearings at about 40 to 50,000 miles, and this car's got a little over 50-some thousand miles on it. So I don't know if the engine's been torn into before or not. So, but anyway, that's what I got going on. Replacing thrust washers, replacing the rod bearings. Clean up the gasket surface real good, and that on the pan. Scrape all that nice and clean. Put a brand new gaskets, of course, going back up with it. Put in a new rear main seal. One theory that I did here on the Triumph Experience, which is a website online for Triumph owners, was that the thunk that I'm getting, or the thunk or thud sound that I'm getting when I rev the engine real fast, and it's only like one and that's it. Someone else had the very same exact problem that I was having, and he thought it might have been the water pump, or whatever, so he changed that. That wasn't the issue. He took loose his fan belt and ran the engine for just, probably a couple minutes and revved it and all. No thunk. Come find out, it was he had a bad fan clutch that was causing the sound. So, and I already know my fan clutch is bad. I knew that shortly after I bought the car. But I have a good fan clutch in the 77, which I'm going to be using for a couple of parts, until I can afford brand new, because the fan clutches on these cars is about $180 American. So that's a little bit more than I can bite off right now, but I have a perfectly good fan clutch in that car, so I'm going to take it off that one, put it on this engine. Everything about this engine is good. It's solid. It has 150 pounds of compression in every cylinder when I did the compression test a while back. And, other than the initial thunk sound, which I'm going to figure out once I get the bottom end back together, I'm going to get that figured out. Most likely it was probably the fan clutch all along. If that's the case, I guess live and learn, but it is a good thing that I did tear into the bottom end of this engine, because I found the issue with the thrust washers and stuff. So it's good just to go ahead and get that kind of stuff taken care of, and before they become a major problem. That's pretty much all I got for this video. I'm going to finish getting the work done on this engine, and I gotta get the parts ordered and all that, and get her put back together and drop her back down into the car. And hopefully I'm putting a new water pump on, and I'm going to switch over that good fan clutch over to it, and hopefully my thunk sound will be gone. Other than that, it could be the exhaust, maybe smacking the frame or something. I got to check into that as well. That's also another very possible scenario. And I'll probably go ahead and replace the motor mounts, because I do notice the engine does kind of, rev up to the side a little bit when you hit. I think it's pretty much normal, but just to be safe, I got it out. Might as well do it right. So other than that, it's probably just the exhaust smacking the frame or something, which I'll have to get, the car raised up higher, and I'll find out what's what with that and all. But it does not appear to be anything internal on this engine itself. Everything here is solid, and looks like it's good to go. Once I get the fresh parts put in and all that. So this has been a major job, but it's not as major as it could have been. So, but yeah, that's what I got for now. Next, as I progress with putting the engine back in, I'll probably do another video, about that, showing the engine going back in and getting everything finished, hooked back up, so that I can actually get this car out on the road finally and drive it. So, and actually start enjoying it. And I'll do more videos in the future about the Spitfire, even after it's roadworthy and stuff, and hopefully get some more videos of like maybe some other people's, classic cars. It don't have to be Triumph Spitfire. It could be, MG midgets, or Mini Coopers, or even some American-made, classics and stuff. I'm gonna start hitting car shows and stuff, and taking some video footage of the car shows with you know, of other people's cars and stuff with the owner's permission, of course, and hopefully get some really nice classics featured on this channel. So, but that's all for now. I appreciate everybody watching the videos and stuff. Hit that subscribe button on my YouTube channel if you want to stay up to date when I post new videos. So they're going to be a little slow going right now, I'll be honest. So, but other than that, hope everybody has a great day and keep them on the road. Goodbye.